So tonight we continue our countdown to the Nigerian elections, a bullet that's galvanizing enormous interest in this country and across the world. And today we have in the hot seats the main opposition People's Democratic Party, or PDP, whose presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, at least one poll suggests, if he doesn't botch it, could be in the running to win this election. He and his supporters have been trying to make a compelling case for what this country might be like under his government, full of the expectation that the sun will come up after years of darkness under the APC, and that this country will be a safer place to live and thrive. Well, for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by Phrank Shuaibu, Special Assistant to the PDP Presidential Candidate, Atiku Abubakar, on Public Communications. Good to see you, Phrank.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here, Charlie.
Thank you so much for coming in.
My pleasure.
And is this election going to plan for the PDP and your presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar?
Sure, very excellently well. Everything is going according to plan. Most importantly, with a different kind of town hall, the kind of balablu and all of that, it made the job easy for us, particularly coming from the ruling party who have been campaigning as if they were in the opposition. So we've been on the driver's seat, and it's been an exciting moment for us.
Right, and I wonder if you can take this opportunity to make the case for Nigerians to vote for him in spite of the shortcomings of age and the allegations of corruption that continue to trail him.
You know, in the first place, Charles, I don't think it would be presumptuous for anyone to even see age as a limitation for Atiku Abubakar, because age is not a parameter for measuring capability. So age on its own, it's a no-brainer. Bringing age as a weakness or as a challenge to his ambition or to his becoming president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is a no-brainer, because age is not a parameter for measuring capability. Secondly, I will take a look at other things, particularly the issue of corruption. Atiku is one of the most investigated politicians in sub-Saharan Africa.
Well, that's starting to sound like a cliche.
Not a cliche. You see, this man left office as far back as 2007. He was vice president between 1999 and 2007. He's been working the streets of Nigeria a free man. Nobody, no security agency, no anti-corruption agency has tried him, arrested him, or investigated him. You understand me? So a man who has never been convicted for any corruption case, he has no immunity. His immunity left him since 2007. So if he were corrupt, has been bandied at every political circle, obviously he should be behind the bars by now. Unfortunately, those things don't stick. They don't stick because we know he is not corrupt. He's untainted. But that is the only thing they look for. They try to rake mud. Particularly, they do not in All Progressive Congress. Particularly, too, that they've been in office in the last 7.5 years. And for everything, every misfortune that befalls their political party, they say it's Atiku Abubakar. Some time ago, I even said it on television. But maybe I can't even remember, maybe on this station. That the next time, if you see, when the fuel scarcity that had lingered for over 12 months, 12 calendar months, started, up till a few weeks ago, the APC, recklessly came up with a press statement where they accused him of being behind it or colluding with transporters to create artificial scarcity, something that has persisted, that has been perennial in the last almost 12 months. You understand? ASU strike, they say, it's obviously it will be Atiku Abubakar who is colluding with the academic staff union, to go on strike and all of that. So at a point I looked at my principal one day and I said, Your Excellency, very soon, if Bola Ahmed Tinubu, if his wife refuses to sleep with him, he would obviously tell him that, it's Atiku. That is the problem. Because we can't understand this. The man does not have executive power. He does not have any power. He's not in government. He is not a president. He's not a vice president yet. Of course, they can see to the future. Maybe they have the power of clairvoyance to say that, look, this man will be president soon. We don't have a problem with that, if that is the kind of conjecture they are making. But to say that both the fuel scarcity as well as the naira swap was occasioned or precipitated by Atiku Abubakar is the most nonsensical comment I've ever heard, in fact, in recent times. Unfortunately, it's coming from a government that gave birth to, conceived the idea of a monetary policy, gave birth to, nurtured it, and they should live with it. That's our position on it. You gave birth to the monetary policy. You conceived it. You nurtured it from infancy. You brought us to where we are. This election in 2023 is a referendum on the government of the APC. And that is why we say that it's the easiest election we are going into in our political foray. Particularly that the Nigerians are alive. The only way APC can win election is if you export Nigerians, all Nigerians, from all the geopolitical zones, export them from this country and import a new set of people into Nigeria, supplant them and bring them to vote. That's when APC can win. But as long as Nigerians are alive, we have the right head sitting on our necks, there is no Nigerian who has suffered hunger, who has suffered pain, who has seen blood, who has seen deaths, who have witnessed kidnapping in our political space in the last 7.5 years, that will wake up and want to support the candidate of the Do Nothing APC.
Yeah, well, even if they don't vote for the APC, it doesn't mean they're going to vote for the PDP.
No, you see, it's a simple prognosis. You understand me? It's a simple prognosis. The people were of the candidate who has got the capacity to take them out of the present predicament. It is not enough. It is not enough to discuss the how. It's not enough to discuss the what the problem is. It is most important and expedient to tell us how we are going to implement them. And that was why we told Nigerians from the beginning that Atiku remains the most prepared candidate for this election. Before he even picked up a form for the primary election of the PDP, he came into that contest with a working document entitled My Covenant with the People of Nigeria. And in that working document, it took a look at 5 thematic areas, particularly the unity of Nigerians. Because we have never been as polarized as we are today in the history of our nation. And he told us, he said, look, we have to use our dynamic diversity as a unifying factor to bring our people together. And the only way you can do that, it must be represented in appointments, in placements, in employment, and in everything, all spheres of life. Not to have maybe political appointments lopsided and all of that. When we looked at, let me take maybe the Southeast, for instance. In one of my privileged interactions with His Excellency Atiku, he said, look, Frank, the problem and agitation in the Southeast because of the absence of power for a long time. And you cannot have a region with so many industrious and young people. And you do not create, government does not create a deliberate program to tend to them. You cannot be talking about the issue of insecurity without education. If you do that, you are leaving a vacuum. And we do not want to elect president or to elect people who will make tramadol to litter the streets of Nigeria. And because of that, Nigerians are left with just little choices. It's a narrow choice for them. It has been narrowed down. We need one who is experienced, who can galvanize both the North, the South, the East, and the West, bring them together and say, look, we have to work as one.
Well, I can see
that. And Atiku represents
right.
that.
I can see that you're,
because he's pan-Nigerian.
I can see that you're pitching with everything you've got, because essentially you've got 2 days left before the campaign is over. But of course, your detractors have, and including many young people that you're talking about there, at least a number of them, I heard them saying that, wondering how much of a tortuous process this rather long election campaign has been for your candidate, Atiku Abubakar, at the age of 76, that he must be breathing a sigh of relief that the end is now in sight.
Funnily enough,
he wants to keep going, does he?
In fact, he's ready, and not just ready. I left him as late as 3 a.m. this morning, and at 8 o'clock we were already in another meeting room. You understand? So it's a regular thing he does. A man who could go back to university to pick a degree. Because if you are too old to learn, you'll be too little to lead. If he could go back to the university after the 2019 election to pick up another degree, you should know that that's a man who is prepared for leadership. Yeah. He needed to improve on himself. To say, look, I want to be better. I want to be a better leader. I want to be a better person to go into the 2023 election. And for me, and for all of us, it's not a sigh of relief. The journey just started. Because it's a Herculean task. Picking from the bits and pieces. There is no home in Nigeria today who in the last 7 years, including your own home, Charles, there is no way you can tell me that you have not sat down one day to say, oh my God, you mean we lost him? Or you mean he's been kidnapped? It may not be someone who is your blood relation, but someone you know. As you sit here, Charles, if I pick your phone now, then it is impossible for me to see less than 20 text messages asking for any little thing. As low as 2 naira. They say an urgent 2,000 naira. As an urgent 1,000 naira. Because that is the level we have been reduced to.
We understand that, but we return to the point that the fact that those problems exist doesn't mean that Nigerians believe that your candidate can solve them. Let me just make the point before you come in. There have been a lot of complaints, and it sounds as though I'm banging on about age, but the reason we bring that up is because that's something that a lot of young people are concerned about. There's been a lot of complaints that Mr. Abubakar is so much older than the average young person in Nigeria and is simply out of touch with them. And many of the youth point to the fact that you don't seem to be courting them as you should as evidence of this beyond the sort of the usual blandishments such as, you know, we'll create jobs for you and so on. I mean, how do you address that?
No, Atiku's own is far beyond that. I'm a young man and I've been working with Atiku since 2017.
Well, you're reasonably young.
You understand? Man. Yes. Whether anybody likes it or not, I'm young and I know I'm young. My wife sees me so, my children see me.
You like to think of
yourself as young. And I know that I'm young. You understand? And I have so many other younger people who work with us in the team. And we have so many other young supporters across the nation, you know, who work with us, who've been toiling with us day and night. If you watch our rallies, we transmit our rallies even on Arise television. Those young people you see at our rallies, they don't belong to any other party. They don't support any other candidates, apart from Atiku Abubakar. They may not be on social media. Being a young person,
they're not sort of hired people.
With profound respect. There's no political party, including the one that my brother Peter Obi belongs to. We have seen them on social media where people will cry and battle to share monies, you know, stipends given to them for coming to rallies to just pick a drink and all of that. You understand me? There's none of them can run away from that fact. But the issue is you don't say that they are hired people. They must not be on social media for you to know that they are young people who support Atiku Abubakar. Besides, we have a preponderance of them on social media who support Atiku Abubakar's ambition and who believe in his presidency. The beautiful thing is this: Atiku's own is based on antecedents. It's not just experience; he's qualified, and he's not just qualified; he's tested. In the business world, Atiku has a litany of businesses that are not just functional; they are very functional. And we have young people in his employment. Of all the candidates in this race, that's one person who believes in human capital development. And that was why he did not just establish APC, which is his nursery to primary education, and as well as secondary. He went on to establish what we call the American University of Nigeria. And whether anybody likes it or not, he is completely different. His position is antithetical from the candidate of the APC, for instance, who converted the premises of the Lagos State Polytechnic into his private enterprise, where his private television station is today, was the premises of Lagos State Polytechnic. And he moved the students as well as the staff to Ikorodu, a suburb in Lagos. A man who believes in education, a man who believes in the tomorrow of our young people, will not take such a step.
Right, okay.
Because education, you see, I'll tell you something earlier. Education is the key to unlocking the problem of insecurity. It is not about putting more boots on the ground Of course, Atiku wants to put more boots on the ground when he gets into power. But then, like he said, it's captured in his covenant with Nigerians. The fundamental thing to do in tackling the issue of insecurity is to take care of education. Because when you have young people who take tramadol, who take different kinds of drugs, including heroin and all of that, do you understand? It will lead to, it will breed insecurity, lack of self-confidence, poor image perception, and then an unhealthy identification. Then God forbid they now have a leader who trades in those kind of drugs and all of that.
Okay, well,
God forbid.
Let me move away from that briefly, because you've mentioned the APC and their president and so on. President Buhari.
Not their president, their presidential candidate. That's one cannot be president.
Well, I'm not saying I meant President Buhari.
No,
President Buhari appearing obviously to support the presidential candidate of his APC party, Bola Tinubu. We saw him today. We've seen him over the last
Yes, they went to Grovel, they went to
weeks.
Beg, they
Can
went
I
to
make
Grovel.
the point? But many believe that Mr. Buhari's body language suggests he wants to leave a legacy of free and fair elections. We've seen him making moves to curb, as you mentioned, the influence of dirty money in this election. How much confidence does that give you as the main opposition party?
Is it not main opposition? We have been campaigning as if we were in power. They are the ones campaigning as the main opposition. In fact, P2B is even more popular than them, than their presidential candidate.
You're saying, in fact, some people would argue that P2B is more popular than your candidate.
No, we know popularity is popularity basically is a relative terminology. Do you understand? I will get to that. I will not bandy words with we have a common enemy. There's a common enemy. He has to be stopped because we don't want the Noriega style and the Panama whatever, or going to bring drugs from Paranquilla in Colombia. No. What I'm talking about is the fact that, look, we know how they went to Grovel, how they went to beg, how they went to prostrate and all of that, and how they went to blackmail the president, to come in to campaign for them and all of that. We don't have a problem with that's his political party. He was elected as president on that political platform. But the man has said in clear terms that, look, I want to leave a legacy of a free and fair election. He is a product of a free and fair election, as run by a PDP president, President Goodluck Jonathan. And as such, at 80, there's nothing that man is looking for. And he said, look, even if this is the sweetest thing I can leave for Nigerians, this is what Nigerians deserve. I want to leave a legacy of a free and fair election. But in terms of body language, I'll tell you what. The candidate of the APC has made the job easier for all the candidates in this election, particularly former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who is not just a 76-year-old man, as you quoted. Of course he's 76. He's hale and hardy. He's coherent. He's logical. He's expressive. He has attended the interviews and debates, unlike those who avoid debates, unlike those who want to get employment without a job interview, unlike those who cannot explain even their parentage, let alone their certifications. So the issue is, we know who his father is, we know who his mother is, we know where he was born, we know the schools Atiku attended. So even the young people can separate the wheat from the chaff.
Right.
The young people you're talking about, the young population you're talking about, a majority of them know that, see, any attempt for Nigerians to make a mistake and not be decisive about taking care of this common enemy, who is not qualified to even be on the ballot in the first place. Because let me tell you something, mental capacitation.
You keep jumping from one thought to the other, and that concerns me, because we're running out of time.
There is a connection.
And I don't want you moaning that we haven't given you enough time, which is why
Charles, I take exception to that. When you say if you keep jumping from one thought to the other.
No, what I'm saying
I'll
is
tell you, you're eating into my time, and I'll tell you.
Your thought.
No, just hold on. There's a connection. You cannot make ogbono soup with just let's
get past the ogbono soup, because we've got less than 5 minutes. So
you keep interjecting.
Well, I'm trying, because you're talking about ogbono soup rather than
you drag me there.
Right. Okay. Let make the point. Let's move on to the next thing.
The point is simple. Atiku is prepared. Is the leader for the now. is the president in waiting.
Okay.
You can take it to the bank.
Right. Okay. You've made that point. I want to pick up on a number of topics with you. One of them is security. I mean, we've seen more attacks, police killed at the weekend, 7 of them. The security agencies, the Inspector General of Police, the Chief of Defense Staff have all come out to say they are ready to secure this election and have been reassuring Nigerians to go out and feel free to vote. Does that give you confidence that this election will be safe and secure, or do you feel that they still aren't doing enough?
It is a ploy. It is a ploy by the ruling party, particularly the frustrated candidate of the ruling party, who believes that he has lost everything. And that is why I keep telling you, despite your interjections, that look, these guys are frustrated. Their policies before now, when ASU was on strike for 8 months, you didn't hear an APC governor protest. You didn't hear them complain to Mr. President that the children are at home. So today, they cannot turn around to mount that, look, they are talking for the masses. They can't love the masses. They don't love the masses. I remember vividly when this monetary policy came up, in particular the naira swap and the naira redesign policy. The candidate of the APC in Abeokuta said this policy was designed to stop him, so it was about him. Later on, he capitulated and said, oh, it's about Nigerians. Nigerians are suffering. No, it's not Nigerians. Nigerians are aware. We're smarter than that. It is about them because they've stockpiled funds and they want to keep them, to use them to buy votes. After impoverishing the people, they will turn around to use the same money they've stockpiled to bribe them, give them pittance to come and vote for them. And the people are saying no. And the president and his team are saying, look, we want a free and fair election. I want somebody of proven character and leadership to succeed me. Now what are they doing next? They make comments, provocative comments, inciting comments. After a president, there cannot be a republic within a republic. President Muhammadu Buhari is the president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He made a declaration. He addressed the nation before traveling to Ethiopia for the African Union meeting. And a governor within a sovereign nation addressed people in his own republic, in Kaduna Republic, quote and off quote, and told them, gave counter instructions to the comments and position of the federal government as led by President Muhammadu Buhari. That alone is enough to precipitate crisis. So the crisis you are seeing is a strategy. And that's why we keep telling our own supporters, as well as supporters of other smaller parties and other parties across board, outside the APC, to tell their supporters to be careful and be decorous about the way they conduct themselves, because they have a game plan. They know they are going to lose. They know they've lost the election. So what is their game plan? They are inciting the people, taking provocative steps to create anarchy, and in the process, fall back to Mr. President, who is a member of their ruling party, and say, look, there's crisis all over the nation. We want you to postpone the election or reschedule the election. In the process, when that is done, and Atiku Abubakar would have, after going round and wooing his supporters, other candidates like Peter Obi and others would have gone down to woo their supporters, and they are getting ready for election. And they wake up, and you wake up after doing all that. Your people are ready, your supporters are ready to vote for you. And the next thing is they want to get back into character. Unfortunately, through the back door, and it cannot happen. Because we are not ready for the crisis.
Right.
The police and the Nigerian army and security agencies have assured Nigerians that they are prepared to stop any form of.
We've got about a minute left, and in the context of what you just said, assuming there is an election, is it your sense that all the critical faculties and facilities of the INEC election process are intact as the 25th of February looms? Very briefly, because we're out of time.
Funnily enough, I don't work in INEC, but I believe, based on the commitment made by the INEC chairman and the leadership of INEC, and the commitment of Mr. President to conducting a free and to leaving a legacy of free and fair election, I believe that all other things being equal, that we would have a free and fair election.
Okay.
And
Phrank,
And
I want to thank you very much.
And Atiku be returned elected on 25th of February.
You got that one here. Phrank Shuaibu is a special assistant to the PDP presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, on public communications. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Charlie. I'll see you in Aso Rock.